Hello, Culture Matters podcast. I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest. But before I do, here's a quote that I picked just for this episode. Here it is. If you wish to be a success in the world, promise everything, deliver nothing. Napoleon Bonaparte. My dear friend, Kevin DeLory is back. The one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend in the making, the John Wick of mortgages.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for coming back, my friend. So I was trying to pick a quote and I was trying to figure out what the hell this means. So I figure there's got to be one person that loves history that almost taught it at one point, who is a success in my mind and in many's mind. What the heck? Well, thanks for coming, but also I want to ask you about this quote. So, you know, thanks for coming.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
If you wish to be a success in the world, promise everything, deliver nothing. Why would Napoleon Bonaparte say that? I'm trying to figure this out.
Well, you know, it's probably the worst guy to say that too. And I think it's sometimes people tell people what they want to hear to get them their buy-in, but then they don't deliver. And that is, in my opinion, definitely a sign of a dictator, a king. You answer to no one, right? So I can tell you everything you want to hear, but I answer to no one. So I don't need to deliver. But I can maybe put a smile on your face with my words, but my actions made you miserable. So it's the worst kind of leader, worst kind of culture, in my opinion, is when people, my cousin calls it mouth music. They give you some mouth music, but they don't deliver with their actions. But you might get what you want. But you might get the immediate gratification of what you want, so you can get everything. I promise you I'll do this. I promise you this. Oh, then I'm all in. I'm good. I got you. And then I delivered nothing. But too late. You already gave away everything I needed. So that's what I take of that. And it's something I despise in leaders that do that. So, wow, that was a great one.
Yeah, Napoleon's saying, if you wish to be a success in the world, right?
Yep.
Like, what could he be tapping into? Because this is a guy that, conquered the world, I think, essentially,
Yep.
right? He gathered troops.
Right.
He won 47 battles, from my understanding, a very limited understanding of Napoleon. I will add that. It's more of like a idealistic, like, I'd love to learn more about Napoleon. Like, if you wish to be a success in the world, promise everything and deliver nothing. It seems like contradictory in a sense.
Yeah. Is it better to be liked? Or is it better to be respected? Right? I'm going to promise you everything because I want to be liked.
Wow.
You won't respect me because I delivered nothing.
Why do you think people get caught in that matrix of?
Because some people want that immediate gratification, right? They want to hear what they want to hear. I hear I hear what you're saying. So I'm only going to listen, but I don't really follow up in your actions. You'll be surprised how many people will they'll tell you what you want to hear, but then they'll never deliver. With their actions say something totally different. But you made me feel good for that first 30 seconds. You appealed to my ego. You told me we're not to heal. You appealed to my ego. I got excited. Wow, this guy, he loves me. Look at this. This is great. But then I take my eye off, right? Because I got that immediate gratification. My ego's going 90 miles an hour, and I deliver nothing. And everybody loves me because I'll make everyone else deliver the bad news.
What is it? Fear of something?
Yeah, I think it's fear of not being liked. I think it's fear of not being seen as the almighty, right? So you'll have some people that will get so entrenched in their ego and tell you everything you want to hear, and then, hey, I told them everything I wanted to hear, but really, I told you everything I want to hear, but Jay's telling me I can't do it. Sorry, I do it, but Jay doesn't want to do it. So you still love me. Who becomes the bad guy? You do. If you notice, Napoleon always had these great men around him. Even convinced him to break him out of jail, right? When he gets locked up off the coast of Italy. And he surrounded himself with these intelligent men. He would say what he needed to say to be loved and make them be the bad guy. That's not leadership. That's not culture. That is.
You think that got him where he ended up?
Oh, 100%. Because although if you look at the same people that, played him dirty was all those people that, that he was playing dirty to begin with. What goes around comes around. And that's what happened with him.
Were you ever in this type of state at some point in your career?
Yeah, I think obviously younger in my career, one of the things before I truly became a leader was to tell people what they wanted to hear. And I think I've shared this story with someone else just recently. Fridays would be the ultimate day for me that I would just blow off. I would tell people what they wanted to hear. Like, I'm trying, I'm going to get it done. Give me till Monday. Why? Because selfishly, I didn't want to give the bad news and ruin my weekend. But I strung them out over the weekend. This is, my very first time in his career. And I'm like, the news is going to be the same on Monday. But then that's when I changed my whole philosophy to be a real leader. Bad news is a dish best served hot. You give that immediately if you respect the other person in the relationship. So it was really before I became this really conscious leader. I think we all sometimes want to take the easy way out, and using words, over promising and under delivering is an easy thing to do when you're young and you really haven't experienced both sides of the transactions. It was great just today on the whole perspective. We had Lee Woodall, and he said to me, I never understood the importance of special teams in the NFL, because usually that's something you do as a rookie, right? He went his first 8 years, never did it. And I don't know if he realized how powerful it was. He said, I really understood the importance after 8 years of my career, never being on it. I just saw those guys running up and down the field, and they really don't put points on the board, but I didn't realize it until I did it, until I experienced it. And then I realized how important it was. But put your money where your mouth is, right? Now I have something to take away from that. That's why I love doing every job that I ask other people to do. I want to experience. I want to feel it. I want to see the pain points, because how do I fix it if I never did it? How do I lead these people if I don't understand what they do? So
what were some of your early influences like that you think they could have shaped you to have that earlier philosophy?
Yeah, I would say it would be coming the way I grew up, right? We wanted praise. There wasn't a lot of that going around. We wanted success. There wasn't a lot of that going around. So you learn to say what you need. It's kind of like Napoleon, right? I kind of told everyone what they wanted to hear to get that immediate gratification of what a good kid he is. Now, did my actions show that? No. So you grow into, you keep going in that. And the more success you have with it, right, the more you lean on it, until I was fortunate enough to have something change in my life where that's not who I want to be in my core. Now, so I think it just happens coming up from your environment sometimes. And I think your environment has a lot to do with everything, right? So I think, my financial status, my environment, being the youngest of 4 boys, I knew that I could always get what I want with a little sweet talk. So that behavior was rewarded. And then
at that time, do you think you felt like you were enough, or that it needed to come from somewhere else?
No, it's funny. That's something I think everyone struggles with. Am I enough? I think, but when you come from an environment where finances, you're struggling financially, struggling to keep the lights on, you never feel enough. You always feel that somebody's looking down on you. So I think that's something that, you have to get there. And even, like I said, I think we had this conversation before. Then you chase the money, and now you have all the money. Now you have it. And then, are you really fulfilled? Because I lost it as fast as I made it. And then I realized that that's the pivotal point. The pivotal point in my life is the crash. And it's funny that Napoleon, you would think after his incarceration, getting exiled, would have came back a different man, but he didn't. He came back to march on France and try to take over the country again, right? So that it's so funny that you open with that quote, because I can relate so much to it, not only because of my stature and height, but also because of
interestingly enough, there was never even thought about it for a second.
I brought that into the conversation. I couldn't resist, because it's funny. I don't know if you've seen the post of my wife put me in this regal outfit. I'm like, couldn't you have put as my face? And I'm like, could you put me like Napoleon? I could have had my Great Dane next to me, and we could have took a portrait and had it done that way.
Yeah, no, we'll have to do a whole nother show and like exegesis on how I came up, because I was thinking Alexander the Great. I'm like, that's tired. I'm using that a lot. Just use it today. No, what does Napoleon have to say? And then as soon as I saw that quote, I was like, that's the one for today.
It's very thought-provoking.
Evan will have something to say about this.
Yeah, 100%.
Because when I read it, I said, wait, what is he really trying to say? Because like I would think Napoleon, how did he get to where he was at without, I don't know, it just confused me.
Yeah,
Deep.
he's a lover of all great things, all fine things. And power was one of those great things that he wanted. And I think sometimes people have a thirst for power and they get drunk on it and they'll tell people they want to hear to get that power and then deliver absolutely nothing. It's the good old adage, it's in my business. I watched after the crash, these people continue to leave the field, to flee. And then as the market came back, they jumped back in. And I'm like, how are you still a leader? You haven't been a leader for 6 years. So you're riding the coattails of your success 10 years ago, but you ran when the business got tough. Does that make you a leader? So there's a lot of those fake titles out there. And, I'd rather not have a title than have a fake title.
Do you think the tougher times, like reestablish the leadership?
Yeah, I think that's 100%. I think the real leaders survived. The positional leaders left. The true leaders excelled because they had no choice. It was either sink or swim. Didn't run from the industry. I stayed. I rebuilt, and I become the strongest leader. I wouldn't be the leader I am today without that experience because, as I shared with you before, I didn't know I was the leader until everyone looked at me and said, "What do we do next?" And I said, "Shit, I'm the leader."
I posted this on Threads today. I was re-listening to our last podcast episode. The last that was just released, episode 146. If anyone listening to this, go check out that episode. You said on there, when you separate yourself from your team is when they decide that you're no longer their leader. I was like, whoa, that's a really good quote. You said that last episode, believe it, or that we put out. Do you think you would have this awareness had you not fallen earlier in your career after being that type of person?
Yeah, I don't think I would. I really don't. I think sometimes something needs to happen to change your way of thinking. And I truly believe one of my greatest gifts was crashing and burning. I really believe that. I know that sounds crazy to some people, but no, that was my greatest gift.
What if that doesn't happen? How does Kevin DeLory become who he is today? Right, there's no external conflict that carves the path for the character to reveal itself. There's nothing out of the control, right? There's no, like for me, it was my arm. I was paralyzed.
Right.
And I died. A part of me died that was in the way of who I am. I've been becoming up to this point. Let's say that you and I, we don't get that luxury. It's funny because it was a curse in a sense, right? How do we,
I would hope
there another way?
I would hope somebody would have came in my life, come into my life to set me straight, meeting the right person, right? And just triggering something inside me. But, other than that, I don't see without that experience, me being where I am today, without, I don't even know if I shared this with you. I truly care about the people that work for me because I think all I ever wanted in my culture was to somebody to care about me and show that I have my back and not just give me lip service, right? Nothing worse than when someone says, "I agree with you." Okay, if you agree with me, what are you going to do? Like, take action for me, show me your back. So I do that today because, I really care about the people that work for me. Just recently, I sent out an email. This was last Friday, actually. And I said, "What does success look like for you at EPM?" And I sent that off to 140 people. Okay. And I read every reply. I responded to every reply. And I made a spreadsheet of it.
Wow.
So I could then go back and, read them. And next time I have some interaction with them, I could try to help them achieve what they want to achieve. So sorry, my great Dan is drinking and it sounds like there's a horse in there. Off. So that's what means something to me. It's to show that my actions are more than my work. Talk is cheap, right? I'm wearing the shirt. It's to show in my actions. And if that's what's important as a leader. And in my actions was not showing who I was as a person in those days. And I'll give you one straight. I don't know if I even shared this with you. There was one other little event that happened. So even after I was humbled, I started being successful again, right? I knew I got this company. I went to work for another company. They said, I'm gonna give you a sign-on bonus, do this. And I'm like, all right, well, I could have easily fallen back into the bad leader, the Napoleon, right? And I didn't, because when I got off the bus that day, the very first day, a van driving us back and forth. The company was in Charlotte, North Carolina, back to the hotel. And the guy said, Kevin DeLory, can you stay back? I'm like, oh shit, what'd I do? I thought I was doing a good job. I thought I was, really engaging these people. And he said, I want to just tell you one thing. The way that you acted in this class as a top producer, coming from where you've come from, and the success you've had, the way that you acted, I am inspired and I am blessed to have you in the class. And that to me said, wait a second, I could be the person that I'm comfortable being, my authentic self, not put on any, armor, not put my shield up, let people see me from the real me, and I can still be looked up to. Because before, the way I'd get looked up to was my fancy suits, the money, the cars, the houses. Now it was, I'm stripped down, I'm naked, I got nothing. I lost it all. I went through a divorce, lost it all. And now somebody's seeing me for the person I am, the leader I am. And that really propelled me. I think I was going on the right place, but that was the rocket fuel, the kick in the pants I needed to stay on that track.
Are you that person for other people today?
I would hope so. I do my best that when I see somebody do something good, to go out of my way to tell them that I appreciate what they did. I do my best to go out of my way to say, good job, to recognize excellence, to even if it's, excuse me, someone struggling, to, pick up the phone and say, what can I do to help you?
You just made me realize something, if I'm that guy that was talking to you, or like I'm me when I didn't listen, someone would have had to like really give it to me, and then deal with how I treated them after. Like, I think like I wrote this down when you were talking. Talk is priceless and its value is shown in the results. Or maybe, but its value is shown in the results. Because if like right now, we're never getting this time back. What are we doing? We're talking to each other. We're thinking through shit. Now, if we leave this thing and we don't put into action anything we're talking about, the value of our talk will be in the results. Oh, I think you're muted.
It would just be like what Napoleon said, tell them what they want to hear and deliver nothing.
I need to work on valuing myself at the level I need to be more, not less. That's like a growth for me this year, really. I mean, there's so much that I have to say and I'm not saying it.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think as humans, we don't want to, be critical of someone else because we don't like people being critical of us, right? I think you have to get to a point where, you have to be just as open to that critical conversation about yourself as you are to others. I know I'm not perfect. I know I have some weaknesses. I know what they are. And that's something I could probably work on. But I think I'm more willing to accept it from somebody that I feel is listening and taking action than somebody that just only wants to be they're critical to be heard when it's convenient, right? So, I'm not a big fan of talk. I would love to embrace conflict 24/7 and bring it to people's face, but not everyone can handle it. And that is a struggle that I think a lot of people have of, well, I don't want to hurt that person's feeling. They're going to perceive me to be aggressive, as emotional, as passionate. And by the way, I'd like to hear anyone tell me what's wrong with emotion, what's wrong with passion, and what's wrong with critical thinking. I think in our business landscape today is people use those as like a negative, as a downfall, as a weakness. And I got to say, it's bullshit. I think, if anything, if we had more people like that, it'd be a lot better place, right?
Like what?
Like just to give honest feedback to one another, and sometimes be a little critical too, so you can improve. It isn't that I'm being critical to tear you down. The minute that you get critical, people take it to a negative place. We got to replace that with, that person cares enough about the company, the person, to make them better so we can be better. Right. And I think we have this tendency to say, oh man, you can't be critical. Oh, it's just you being, you're ripping that person down. No, I'm not. People can't take compassion and fire. But we want to see it on the sports field. If a guy's running back to the huddle, he's not clapping anyone's hands, like, what's that guy? He's got no fire in his belly. But you have it in business sometimes, you're perceived to be, a little bit bonkers. I approach everything in my life that I'm passionate about with fire in my belly. If I don't want to do it. So, that's something in culture that people need to really start to look at. And that's, critical feedback, people being passionate, people being excitable. I want those people because they care. To me, doesn't mean you don't care if you're not passionate, you're emotional, but are you being your true self and leaving it all in the field? I'd rather promise nothing and deliver everything that you didn't even dream of as a leader. I'd rather not promise you anything. You come into work for me, you're coming because you believe in me, but I'm going to give you everything. I'm going to let you see things you've never seen before, accomplish things you've never seen before, take you to heights of success that you've never seen before without saying a word, because that's truly what I like to do. That's what gets me, fired up. That's what makes me a success. That's how
do you think you translated some of these ideas into the group of champions that are running into the burning building right now, metaphorically speaking, in the industry? Results speak for themselves, right? So how are you translating those values? You gather, you talk about these things. It's a constant, what are the elements? Can we break it down, right? What's the master class?
Yeah, it's constant communication and actively listening, right? If someone's struggling, are you just hearing the word struggle? Oh man, I don't know how to get them out of this. What are you willing to do? Don't say you're a leader. Do not say you're a leader if you're not willing to do what you ask people to do. That's one thing that just burns me up, is I'm a leader. Well, it's his job to do that. Well, can you show me how to do the job? Because that's a real leader. I'm not claiming to be, some savior, but what I do claim to be is a guy that was willing to do anything I ask anyone else to do. So the other day I was just talking to somebody. I said, what do you think it's difficult to, call in a new client and get them? I said, come in my office. I'll do it right now. I'm not going to ask you to do something I'm not willing to do. I haven't done it in probably 2 years. Since I've been at EPM, I haven't done that once. So here I am. I said, I'm going to do it right now. And I picked up the phone and I did it. And not only did that person give me that, they gave me a referral. And he goes, wow, you really will do what we're asking us to do. Of course, that's what a leader does. That's true culture. True culture is tribal leadership. There isn't one leader. I look at my office, I got 5 leaders. I got Ray, who's the leader through his strength is leading through sense of humor. I don't have that. He's more in touch with the people. He's my intel guy. I got Everett, who is, a numbers guy, and he breaks everything down for me. I got Frankie Wholesale that can do a report better than I ever would. But together, we are unbeatable.
How have you created trust amongst these leaders?
You've challenged me on something our last podcast about, I might have been being a little hypocritical about trust. So I've really been working on that. But I trust people. I said to you, I don't think the concept is what I believe in my head, that I give everyone 100% trust. I don't, if I'm looking back, because you challenged me on that, I really thought it through. The more you show me who you are, the more I trust you. Because you could trust somebody that's an open book. What you can't trust is somebody that's leaving the chapters out in their book. So that's how I give it, right? That's why I think people trust me now more than ever, because now they know the way I grew up, which I never talked about. They know my challenge and my struggles, which I never talked about. So now I'm an open book. So why not trust me? Because if you don't, you could just go back and say, Kevin, let's talk about,
Are you saying that your vulnerability has increased connection amongst others,
1,000,000%, because now people.
and even among others and each other?
100%. It's the more that I show them that I'm willing to open up, the more they're willing to open up. And now we have this where we are all, I've created this great encyclopedia, right? We're like Britannica over here, right? So we all have a specialty. Wow. We all line up. When you stack us together, we're a complete set, and you got everything you need to know. You take one out, and that's why it's so important not to hide who you are. If you say, this is who I am, and I did it for a long time, hid behind my fancy suits and my nice car, my nice house, and then I lost it all. Be who you have to be. If you want a great culture, let people foster an environment for open, honest dialogue, foster an environment where you will take action upon someone that doesn't fall within that culture. If you believe in your culture, then you gotta dump into it. You can't just believe in your culture when it's convenient, because there's going to be a lot of tough conversations. And I could just say, hey, look, I believe in open door policy, but the minute someone comes to me, say they want a raise and I don't think they deserve it, I can just keep my door shut all day and hide from them. That's not culture. That's not being, have critical thinking and critical conversations. Say, look, today, I don't think you could have that, but here's the steps to get you there. And that's honest conversation. And that person leaves with more respect for me than when they walked in the door.
Someone's afraid to do that. Then what?
Then they shouldn't be a leader. I mean, because what's going to happen is people will leave you. People will leave you. And I see it a lot throughout our business where people, they'll sell them a bill of goods, and there's a lot of, and it goes both ways, right? So you'll see someone come in and say, I'm going to be the best account executive in the world, and I'm going to do 20 million. And they come in, and every month it's your fault. Well, they can't do it. Every month it's your fault. It's the company's fault. It's this one's fault, that one's fault. And if you don't take action and you're not doing the necessary steps, it's on you. But I see leaders that will say, yeah, I want to listen, I want to do something, but they just want to listen. Listening without action, listening without putting it into play. And I think Lee Woodall said this today. If you don't know the goals and the things you need to do to get to the end game, then do you really have a plan? But more importantly, listening to people and just giving them the head nod without taking action is, in my opinion, is the biggest disservice you can do to yourself and to another person. Be authentic, be passionate in your beliefs, take action when someone says something to you. If you came to me today and said, Kevin, I don't like the way someone in your team talks to me, and you gave me some examples and I'm listening, and I'm like, shit, that's not the right way to treat somebody. He doesn't deserve that. I go to the other person and say, I want to hear why you think you should talk to him that way. And maybe there's a way you did something to him he didn't feel. Well, have you two had a critical conversation about it? Have you been critical to him, saying, hey, when you come in, you never say good morning to me. You just walk by me, and then you need something, you come to me. No, I haven't. Well, I'm going to get involved, and I'm going to make sure you both understand what each other side. I'm going to listen and then take action and talk to both of you and fix it. And sometimes I might have to be critical and unfortunately side with the other person rather than you. And it might work the other way. So I think a lot of times in a culture where there's a lot of listening, and we say, listen with intent, you have 2 ears, 1 mouth. That's great. That's the first step. Without the second step, it means nothing. Without action, after listening, and that an action could take a couple of days. You might need to think on it. Without action, you're not listening, and you lose more respect from the other person because they feel just the way you started this conversation with is you'll feel like you're promising me everything and delivering nothing.
What does it lead to?
It leads to people leaving. It leads to just the morale going down in the toilet. A lot of backstabbing, a lot of back talking. And before you know it, your company's in disarray. That's why I believe in, if someone comes to me, 90% of the time, I'm able to take action on the spot. Other times I say, look, I just need 24 hours. I want to think this through a little more and I'll get back to you. But I take action. And that is why, I congratulated Kenny on this on the call today. 100% retention. The only time we lose people is when we part ways with them.
What about people that they're not sure what to do?
Yeah, that's
Like,
a
how do
tough.
you take action when you don't know what to do?
You surround yourself with the wrong people then. Yeah, just like I told you about the encyclopedia. If I don't know what to do, I'm going to reach out to somebody that I'm going to ask for their opinion, and I'm going to lean on them. And and I might lean on two or three of them, and I come up with a consensus of the right thing to do, and I take action. If you don't trust the people to the right and to the left of you, you're in the wrong business, or you have the wrong people, or there's something deeper that you need to dig into. Because I trust my encyclopedia to the right, I trust my encyclopedia to the left, I trust the one that's three down to the right. Because I put them together. I put them there because I trust in them. So in culture, make sure that you're bringing together the best of the best, but then trusting in them and listening to them with the intent to take action to help them. If you're only listening to make them feel better, that's only going to work one or two times. By the third time, they're going to start criticizing you and thinking you don't get it. And I always tell people in this business, if I have to tell you what it is, you don't get it. You either have it or you don't. It's like alpha dogs. I know you're an alpha dog just when I first met you. I said, this guy gets it. And I love there's traits about him that I think are amazing. But those belong to Jay Doran. They don't belong to Kevin DeLory. Be authentic, listen to people, and take action. That's the real basis of a culture.
You think that it's going to be revealing of where all the organizations are at in this time in the mortgage industry because of the pressures that are the outside forces kind of forcing. It's almost like squeezing, you squeeze something and pus comes out kind of.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we there's no secret to why we're doing what we're doing. It's everything I'm telling you right now. If anyone's listening in and they're saying, why is EPM continuing to break records? It isn't about rate. It isn't about anything. It's about surrounding yourself with the right people, taking care of them, listening to them, and take action, and not just telling them, well, I was at a company previously where there was like, the rate is the rate. Just go sell it. You're a salesperson. If the rates were so good, then I wouldn't need salespeople. Not true. You should have just listened to me and then gave me an answer. And in when I say action, it doesn't mean you have to agree with me and do what I'm telling you to do. It just listen to me and say, okay, well, I'm going to show you a different way so you could better understand. Because I need you to leave understanding something, whether that's that you're right or there's another way. So I think that's what separates us. The people that come to work every day at EPM within the channel that I lead understand 100% what I expect of them, and they know I have their back because I listen to them. So there's no secret. There's going to continue to be compression. There'll continue to be challenges. I'm lucky enough to surround myself on the C level with some of the best encyclopedias in the game. So that helps. So you got to have, you have your kid version of your encyclopedias, it's the ground level. Then you have your, college encyclopedia. So maybe it goes from, I don't know the name of the thing, the magazine, highlight magazines when we were a kid to now we're full on Britannica. But they all have to line up they all have to be connected to one another.
In closing, what's the takeaway from this conversation?
I'm fired up. I think I need to sometimes practice or preach a little more, have a few more critical conversations. I think even I will avoid a critical conversation, or even more important, when I say to listen, to get to, as a leader, you got to listen and take action. If you're on the other side of that and you're talking and you think someone's listening and they're not taking action, maybe it's time you ask them, what's the next step? Where do we go from here? I think that's something that we all, and I think you've said this, and I've heard this a million times over my career, is the responsibility of the understanding is on the person talking. I think, even though we know the other person is listening, we don't ask them what is the next steps. So we get angry at them because they're not doing what we're asking them to do. I had an experience like that today. And when I get off this call, I'm going to ask, okay, so what do we do now? I didn't ask that question. Maybe I should. And I think if you have a culture that embraces that, then there won't be a problem. And it's even in your personal life. I mean, it's I had the same conversation with my wife, and I said, She goes, I understand. But I never asked, okay, so what do we do next? Because I'm going to leave that conversation thinking she understands. And if something doesn't go right down the road, who am I going to blame? I'm going to blame her. In actuality, it should be me asking, so what's next and where do we go from here? So we're all on the same page. And you know that about culture. If you're all not on the same page, you don't have culture, because somebody's going to be, Bob's going to think it's one thing. Sally's going to think it's another thing. And before you know it, you got 14 cultures, like parasites fighting for, control of the body.